Hello everyone, welcome back to Out of Spec Guide. I'm Max, and today I am joined by an Out of Spec fan and viewer who just made a really cool vehicle purchase, Ben Westby. Hello.
Hi, my name is Ben Westby. I am an elementary school teacher in Western Colorado. My wife and I also happen to be foster and adoptive parents, and in that process we moved to an off-grid home way up into the mountains. So we needed something that could handle that life.
Yes, and what you ended up with is a Ford F-150 Lightning, which we're gonna get into. We'll talk about the specific details of this one, but spoiler alert, you got it for a really good price.
About $37,000 out the door before anything out of my own pocket.
That's kind of wild. So let's talk about how exactly that happened, the kinds of things you're gonna use this truck for, and your purchasing experience, which is a story of its own.
Ooh, yeah, it's a story, that's for sure.
So we'll get into all of it. Stay tuned.
All right. So for the last couple of years now, my wife and I have lived up in the flat tops of Colorado on some acreage. We cut our own wood, we split our own wood, we haul up feed and hay for animals. There's just a lot of things that we have to do to take care of our space. And then we also happen to live completely off-grid. The only place where we could afford land was far enough out of town that there's just no utility. So we have a domestic well, we have solar panels, we have a battery backup system for our home, but it's not always enough. And when we have long stretches of snow and winter days, we just need to be able to power our house better. And so this Lightning came equipped with the Pro Power. So this truck has the ability to produce 9,600 watts of power, both through 240 volts. And then there's a bunch of 120 regular outlets, both in the front and back here in the bed. So we would have the ability to wire this into our home system to be able to power our well and pump and power our home. Our only source of heat is a wood stove. And so this would be able to allow us to run some space heaters in our daughter's bedrooms or our own bedrooms, just to kind of warm ourselves up a little bit without really drawing from our home battery system too much. So there was a lot of things that we needed a truck for, but this particular EV truck just gave our home just that much more capability of making life a little bit more comfortable up in the mountains.
Makes a lot of sense. You've already got that electrified life going. This fits into it. It's a big battery that also is on a proven truck platform in this case. So let's talk about the specific one you got in this deal. And then we'll also talk about the journey you went on to get this truck as well, because that is a saga worth telling.
For sure.
All right, Ben, so what you are coming home with tonight is an F-150 XLT, specifically Lightning. So that is basically the step up from the Pro model. There's Pro, XLT, Lariat, Platinum. There's two battery options. Tell us about the specific truck you got, and then also tell us about the pricing and the incentives you stacked to make this happen for you.
For sure. So this is the XLT. Until Ford opens the orders for the Pro for the public, which they do on and off, this is essentially the base consumer model, which was exactly kind of what I needed. I was looking for the Pro, but this actually fell into my lap in a really decent way. So the MSRP out the door for this truck was $60,000. Due to just the end of the year of 2023, I was able to secure $4,000 worth of dealer discounts, and there was a Ford rebate for the XLT going on at the time. I also was approved for a new program here in Colorado called the Vehicle Exchange Program. It's out of the Colorado Energy Office. And with that program, I was able to exchange my 2010 Ford Flex gas vehicle. Any vehicle that's older than 12 years old, it can be a part of this program. And the state of Colorado gives the dealership $6,000 to knock off the MSRP. And then I also have access to $5,000 from a Colorado tax rebate during tax season. And my wife and I, because we're school teachers, we do a lot of side gigs, we do a lot of summer work, and because of that, we'll most likely be able to take advantage of the full $7,500 federal tax credit.
Which this truck is also one of the few vehicles eligible for.
Exactly. And then I had sold our Tesla Model 3 and was able to use that as an additional down payment. So I know some people say, well, you know, that's a value you could have used elsewhere in your life, but to us, we use vehicle money for vehicles. And then, of course, yes, I did cash out some Tesla, but I figured
Let's take out the Model 3 and the cashing out Tesla. Stacking up everything you mentioned, what was the effective price?
Essentially, I was able to receive about $22,500 in incentives.
Making this more like a $38,000.
About, I think the math that I did was $37,000.
Wow, $37,000 for this.
For a standard range XLT with Pro Power, tow technology, and the Max Tow package, which has additional cooling in the system.
Wow, so outstanding value for this truck, especially when you consider the market conditions for EVs in general. Just a year ago, where people were paying well over MSRP to get these. Of course, there was a huge backlog of dealers.
Yeah.
When you would have first made your order for a truck like this, which I want to get into. Let's talk about the journey you took into getting this, because you didn't plan to get this exact trim.
No, this kind of fell into my lap.
Yeah, so it's very convenient. So let's talk about that Saga next.
All right.
All right, Ben, so we're inside of your XLT. Like you said, standard range, but this wasn't the truck you planned to get. Tell us about your initial process of ordering this, what you went through.
Yeah, so to sum up, I ordered a Pro trim back in August. Ford had reopened for a short couple-week window the Pro trim, which is that base fleet model, which we thought would have been working perfect both for a budget and for our lifestyle. But, I continue to get production delay emails just saying that it's not going to really be anytime soon. And so after calling around a few dealerships and getting some responses, there was one particular Pro model that was available on a lot. It was a fleet order that was part of like a budget cut, but the unique things that happen to have the extended range pack, which is very difficult to find in the Pro trim. And so I assumed I had placed a deposit on the truck. The sales staff confirmed as much, but didn't really have a lot of communication on the timing. It took a long time during the strike for the trucks that were built to be loaded onto trains. The trains took a while. But essentially, a week and a half ago, I'd gotten a call that the truck arrived at the dealership and that they could not find paperwork that showed that I indeed placed a deposit. And then I looked through my own paperwork and indeed saw an absence of a deposit on my financial records. So the general manager ended up calling me a couple days later and informed me regretfully that the truck was sold. It was not sold to me, and it was not really meant to be sold for me. Apparently, it wasn't recoded for a retail sale like I was informed, but was still in fact a fleet order and was never really supposed to be for me to purchase. So I had to do a few finagling things to redo my schedule. I called a couple dealerships, and both one in Colorado Springs and one in Loveland had the exact same build, all the way down to every feature. And this is one of them that we're sitting in right now. This is from Loveland. They matched some dealer discounts and some rebates, and were very helpful to work with. They are an authorized dealer in the vehicle exchange program, and so it was very easy to just give them my code information that the state had given me for this exchange program. And so 1 week later, instead of a Pro extended range, I am now sitting in an XLT, and it actually happened to be $1,000 cheaper than what the Pro extended range was going to cost me.
Wow, so that's really nice. Of course, the extended range battery would have been nice. You would have been getting a big discount on that. But like they were saying, that was never meant to go out to customers. Really bad job of communication initially there.
Yeah.
And that just seems to be like, you were coming out of a Tesla Model 3 before this, like you mentioned. That seems to be a big theme with the dealer experience, is that just like you don't get a lot of transparency or insight into what's going on.
That's true. Now, I will say there is a difference between my communication with the dealerships and that Ford company.
Yeah.
Especially on social media, there are some exec team members on the EV division at Ford who are very helpful. They were communicating in the background, trying to help me out and try and figure out where this miscommunication came from. The Ford team was incredibly communicative and helpful. It was on the dealership side that I was coming into my hurdles.
Right. But I'm glad for you, of course, at the end of the day, that at Loveland it worked out. They took care of you that. And like we talked about with pricing, it's still a ridiculously good deal you got for this much vehicle.
It's a phenomenal deal. And, as much as the extended range would have been helpful, like real world, it would have been like maybe 70 to 80 more miles. And coming from a Model 3 standard range plus, I was already used to being the peasant of Tesla owners. So, it's not really that much of an adjustment for me because I was already used to having a small pack EV.
Yeah, but this is a big step up from that still, I think, in terms of vehicle content. So,
Oh yeah, absolutely. And having the dual motors, like essentially having four-wheel drive all the time, compared to a rear-wheel drive Tesla, the clearance, the ability to go on some trails that I would have never been able to go on to with the Model 3.
Yeah.
And the fact that Colorado is such an EV-friendly state that the CCS and the NACS charging infrastructure is so strong. Colorado is one of the first states to get the Magic Dock.
Right.
And that is actually quite robust throughout the state. And then Moab is only 3 hours away from my home. They also have Magic Dock on
For those who
their
don't know,
Tesla.
right, the adapters that those Tesla
Yes.
superchargers to use non-Tesla vehicles there,
Yep.
combined with, honestly, I feel like along main corridors, like where you're going home tonight along 70, CCS infrastructure has already been decent.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who followed Out of Specs Race to Vegas videos, you'll be able to see that throughout Colorado, they usually don't have any issues. It's usually once you start getting into Utah that you start running into things like a Green River.
But now Utah has NEVI funding, and they're
Yeah, I
build
just
out
saw that they
more.
announced that. That looks really incredible.
Yeah. So I know you've got a long journey home, so let's step outside the truck to wrap things up. After all of that saga and everything, I'm sure it feels really satisfying to be driving home this truck tonight. And we talked about at the beginning, you're going to use it for the Pro Power, the specific electric features. You're going to be able to tow with it. You'll have a big bed. You'll have all-wheel drive and the ground clearance. What else are you just looking forward to using this truck for in your life?
I'm really looking forward to having really comfortable road trips. Even if charging infrastructure still needs a lot of help, the truck as a whole is just very comfortable. The cabin is spacious. I've got preteens now. My wife is doing a dog boarding business. We need a lot of space as a family, and this provides that.
Yeah.
I have charging, level 2 charging available at my work as a perk. And so charging while living off grid is not really a concern for our daily lifestyle. And, as a whole, just being able to live in Western Colorado, deep in the mountains, and be confident in the vehicle that we're driving in is just going to be really huge for us, and having confidence in the choice we made to move where we moved.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy for you. It seems like a great fit, and I think it'll be super interesting to maybe potentially follow up and cover once you get Pro Power set up and everything working with this truck and how it's fitting into your lifestyle. Of course, people can also follow your content on X or Twitter, as it used to be
I don't know what we're calling
Whatever
it.
we're calling
it's hard
it
to
today.
call it X.
Yeah. What is your handle on there?
Yeah, so it's Jammin Westby. It's just the last five letters of Benjamin. Jammin Westby. I am also on Instagram and on Facebook. I am also part of the Drive Clean Colorado team as a EV coach, where Coloradans who are interested in trucks like the Lightning or the Rivian or any other EVs can find some great information on how a Coloradan can take advantage of the incentives I was able to get a hold of, as well as charging infrastructure and EV tips.
Wow, well, that's a great crossover and makes sense. I mean, I'm sure you're a great educator in your day job, but also it's another good use for being an educator there in the EV world. So thanks for coming on to share your story with us. Really cool, and congrats on the Lightning.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun.